last client came to me with pink brows that were done someplace else. Now, people automatically assume that pink brows that have faded off, they're quite old, they're about 6 years old, work that's done someplace else, that they thought that it was a bad job. And in actual fact, it's not. And here's the reason why. I just want to explain. Here's the reason why pigments have come on so much, in particularly. So she came to me just there and said, oh, do you know, I had these done some time ago. It transpires it was 6 years ago. She felt they didn't hold very well. Yeah, okay, they didn't hold very well because you didn't go back. She didn't go back for her step 2. And it's 6 years ago. So you need an annual colour boost when you have the work done. So she automatically assumed, by virtue of the fact that they'd turned a pinky colour or an orangey colour, that it was an automatically a bad job. And it's not. And here's the reason why. Pigments have come on so much, particularly in the last 2 years. In the early days, even when I started out, and I have seen pink brows of work that I did 8 years ago come back and come back and come back. And so the pigments that we had 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, was basically the pigments that we got when we were doing our training. And those pigments are actually modified. They have to be modified for Caucasian skin because we have got a blue undertone to our skin. And microblading originated in China and in Japan, and they've actually got a yellow base to their skin tone. Therefore, the pigments that we were purchasing were actually coming from that part of the world. So in order to have them modified for Caucasian skin, we had to add a modifier, warming solution, in order to actually make them a lovely colour for Caucasian skin. And that modifier is actually orange. I have it here. Look at it. There it is. Yeah. So I'm going to show you on my hand actually. So here it is here, this one, okay? So nowadays the pigments in the last 2 years, when you put on this colour on a client, it actually fades off that colour. But prior to that, and from six years ago, 4 years ago even, we were adding modifier, this orangey colour, to the pigments in order for the colour to be warm in our eyebrows. So people automatically assume that when they start to see the orange or the pinky colour start to come through, that it's actually a bad job. Now, I don't diss any other practitioners, eyebrow microblading practitioners. A lot of people do in order to make themselves look good. But if you see somebody with this colour brows, or if they've started to turn a salmony colour, it's so easily disguised. It's only a matter of adding the original colour without the warmth. I'm after wiping it off my hands now. So I'm going to show you now the before and after. So oftentimes people don't attend to their annual colour boost, and what ends up happening then is that the pinky colour or the warming colour that we added, it's the last colour to fade. So all the other top notes, which are the darker colours, have all started to fade, and the last one that's left was the modifier or the orange modifier. Or it's a kind of an auburn colour that people automatically assume, oh my God, she's such a bad job. Really, it's not. What it is that that person never came back annually in order to have their eyebrows microbladed and have a colour boost put in. So if you see somebody with pink brows, it's not that it's a bad job. It's because they never attended to their annual colour. This lady came to me this morning thinking that she had a bad job done someplace else. And as I say, and I never do this, I never diss other microblading practitioners' work, ever. It's very unprofessional. I wouldn't do it on social media, and I don't do it on my one-to-one clients off social media either. So I get a lot of clients come to me that they've been someplace else, and they come back and say, oh, it was a bad job. And I would always say to them, it's not a bad job. It's actually very unfair of you to say that. And if they come to me saying that they got a bad job someplace else, they're not going to be happy with my work either. So it's very important that you know that you don't get a bad job. Nothing is ever done in any microblading practice without your full approval first. So if you get a bad job, you've approved that. So it's not the practitioner, it's you. So here you go. So this is the before of this particular lady, and the next snap is her after. So I basically used the original a mid-brown colour without modifier, so that, and here she is here, so that it's actually disguised. And I've urged her, and we send reminders to come back every year. Waiting 6 years, what do you expect? Of course you're going to have pink brows underneath. So yeah, so there you go. That's a bad job, and that's usually from somebody who has either inexperience or has used very cheap pigments. So it's important to do your research. That's the bottom line, really. That's the bottom line.